It's Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. This is the Iroquois County Board meeting. Call the roll, please.
Alt. Bard. Here. Barron.
Here.
Botcher. Bowman. Bowers.
Yes.
Kokenauer.
Present.
Crowe. Curtis.
Here.
Ducat. Hughes. Johnson. Lynch. McGinnis.
Yes.
McTaggart. Awful. Penny.
Here.
Sure.
Yep.
Young.
Yes.
Zumwalt.
Okay, Mrs. Awful.
Yes, good morning. Today we have Pastor Trey Shepherd from Grace Bible Church, Assistant Barton Sardis in prayer.
Good morning. Let's pray together. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the day. We thank you for your mercies that are fresh to us every morning. And God, we thank you that we can come before you as a county board. And God, I pray for this board on their behalf, Lord. We recognize that we can only come to you through faith in your Son Jesus, through his life and his death for our sins, and his resurrection to give us eternal life. God, I pray that you would be with this board meeting that is about to start. Lord, I pray that they would begin with the humble recognition that there's no government authority except that which comes from you. And God, that all government has been instituted by you. And God, I pray that they would be your servant for the public's good, protection, and justice. God, I pray that you would guide the discussions that happen today, deliberations, decisions that are made, that the board would act in a way that would be good and pleasing in your sight and in accordance with your will as you reveal it in the Bible. God, I pray for each man and woman represented here today on the board. God, I pray that you would grant them good health, peace, harmony, wisdom, and that they would blamelessly administer the government and that you have given them today. So we ask it in the name of Jesus. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I believe everyone has a copy of the agenda in front of them. Do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Hughes, is there a second? Mr. Ducat. Are there any questions or comments regarding the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the motion carries. Everyone was sent a copy of the minutes from the February 8th recess session. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes? Mrs. Awful, is there a second? Mr. Bowers, are there any questions or comments regarding the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Payroll. Mr. Young, is there a second? Mr. Ducat, are there any questions or comments regarding the payroll? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Bard.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Botcher.
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Kokenauer.
Yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Ducat.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes.
Awful.
Yes.
Penny.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Alt.
Okay, public comments. Are there any public comments this morning? Seeing none, I'll forego chairman comments. We'll go to the outside organization reports. Ms. Angel.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the Iroquois County Board, and guests. I'm Angel Crawford, Executive Director with the Iroquois County Iroquois Economic Development Association just recently announced the Illinois Homeowner Assistance Fund, or otherwise known as IHAF, is available through the Department of Human Services. The Illinois Homeowner Assistance Fund program provides direct financial assistance to prevent mortgage delinquencies, defaults, displacements, and foreclosures for income-eligible homeowners experiencing pandemic-related hardships. Starting in April 2022, the state will begin accepting applications from homeowners for grants of up to $30,000 to eliminate or reduce past due mortgage and property tax payments. To get prepared, there are webinars coming up every Tuesday and Thursday in March, hosted by IHDA, in advance of the application portal opening. These sessions will provide a roadmap for you to follow and make the application process more efficient. Go to www.illinoishousinghelp.org/ILHAF, or you can call the Iroquois Economic Development Association office at 815-432-0072 for more information. Have you ever heard of the Affordable Connectivity Program, or ACP? I was talking with a friend the other day about this program and how it could save her money on her internet bill. She said she'd never heard of the program, so I thought I would share this information with you today. This program replaced the Emergency Broadband Benefit, or EBB, as of December 31st, 2021. So what can the Affordable Connectivity Program do for you? The benefit provides a discount of up to $30 per month towards internet service for eligible, and when I say eligible, you do have to go on and check to see if your income limits. Eligible households, and up to $75 per month for households on qualifying tribal lands. The ACP discount is limited to one monthly service discount per household. Also, with this ACP, or Affordable Connectivity Program, participating broadband service providers can be reimbursed up to $100 if they supply a connected device to a household, as long as the household pays more than $10 but less than $50 for the device. In other words, to take advantage of this benefit, it must be done through your participating broadband provider, and you must contribute a portion of the cost. The device benefit is limited to a laptop, a desktop computer, or a tablet. It does not include cell phones, large phones, or phablets, which I've never heard of, that can make cellular calls. Each household is limited to a single device discount. To see if you qualify and for more information on this program, go to www.fcc.gov/consumer FAQ emergency broadband benefit, or call the Iroquois Economic Development Association office at 815-432-0072 for more information. Last week, the Community Foundation of Kankakee River Valley announced applications for the Community Works and Rosie Fund grant. The applications are now open. These grants focus on nonprofit organizations and programs operating within Kankakee and Iroquois County that serve members of our communities. Some examples of the awards given out went to the Harbor House for youth counseling, to the Iroquois County Youth Center for Youth Center workforce training, and to the Bradley Bourbonnais Community High School Robotics Team, Team Ironclad, to help advance high school students' skill set in science, technology, engineering, and math, or what they call STEAM program, as well as art. The Community Works grant applications are due Friday, March 4th by 5 p.m., and the Rosie Fund grant applications are due March 11th by 5 p.m. For more information on this program, go to www.cfkrb.org/grants or call Iroquois Economic Development Association at 815-432-0072 for more information. Thank you for your time.
Okay, are there any questions? Diane?
Good morning. The last month, we have been, in the Workforce Development Office, we've been working on getting all of our state required paperwork turned in. In the last 2 weeks, we've had about 4 new enrollments, 3 in Iroquois County, 1 in Ford County. The 3 in Iroquois County are focusing on job readiness, gaining employment, attending the KCC CNA program in the summer. And then another one is doing a paralegal program through Chicago State University, but it's all online. The one in Ford County will be attending the CDL program at Parkland. Other than that, we're still working on getting more enrollments. Our goal is about 25 by the end of May. So if you know anybody who is low income or basic skills deficient, so lower than a 9th grade reading level, send them my way. Other than that, I've got cards on the back table. I'll stick around for the whole meeting if you have questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other outside organization reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to the committee reports. Members of the county board, your committee to whom was referred policy and procedure would beg leave to submit the following report on the matters before them. The committee met at the Administrative Center on February 28, 2022 at 9 a.m. Members present were Scher, Bard, McTaggart, and Awful, while Behrens and Charlie O were absent. Also present, Finance Manager Joe Johnson, County Clerk Brian Suber, Supervisor of Assessments Bob Yergler, and EMA Director Eric Stacy. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by McTaggart and seconded by Awful to approve the agenda. That motion carried by a roll call vote. There were no public comments. The committee chairs gave their monthly reports. Health Chairman Awful reported the committee will hear their regular reports from the Health Department and Animal Control. Tax Planning and Zoning Chairman Bard reported the department heads will give their reports and the committee will take action on a rezoning issue. County Board Chairman Scher explained there was a request at Keller Lake to rezone property and put up a storage facility. There were no oppositions to this, but there were questions as to how a storage facility would fit into the county's zoning ordinance. Finance Chairman McTaggart reported the committee will discuss the law enforcement agreement with Cissna Park and receive an audit update. EMA Director Eric Stacy reported he submitted a sub-application for the update to the hazard mitigation plan. He is in contact with contractors to write the hazard mitigation plan. Stacy is in the process of switching grant portals for reporting. The Emergency Operations Center was activated for the Groundhog Day blizzard. A virtual EOC meeting was held. The National Guard was also activated for the storm. Virtual weather spotter trainings will be held February 24, 28, and March 16. Stacy has been keeping an eye on the local river levels. Some of the local rivers have reached minor flood stage, and no homes have been affected. An IEMA Region 7 meeting is being held on March 3rd in Macon County. Discussion was held on setting salaries for elected officials to be elected on November 8, 2022. Finance Manager Johnson prepared a worksheet with proposed salaries for the elected officials. Salaries must be set 6 months prior to the election. County Clerk Brian Suber stated a new law was passed regarding the setting of salaries for elected officials. The county board must pass an ordinance or resolution regarding the salaries, but must also include any stipend amount they receive. Scher also noted the treasurer's salary was reduced 4 years ago due to a change in the treasurer's office. The committee may want to consider increasing the salary to match the other elected officials. We were also reminded the committee that the circuit clerk's salary can be changed in the middle of her term, but it doesn't have to be set for 4 years. Chair suggested the committee review the proposed salary worksheet and offer suggestions. Further discussions will be held next month. Finance Manager Joe Johnson reported on the sexual harassment training, stating updates are not available from the online training yet. There are still plans to hold in-person training and offer online training. The committee discussed establishing an ordinance for raffles and poker runs. Copies of the ordinance were distributed and reviewed. Silver said she was contacted in October of last year by an inspector who was conducting a liquor license inspection at Shiwami Country Club. One of the responsibilities of the inspector is to ensure they are following all state laws and county ordinances. State law requires a license if a raffle or poker run is being held. Silver informed the inspector there is no ordinance in place for raffles and poker runs. Since raffles happen all over the county, there is a need to either pass an ordinance allowing them or stating they are illegal in Iroquois County. Silver also said if an ordinance isn't passed, then all poker runs and raffles are considered illegal and liquor licenses can be pulled from the establishments. The county board passed a motion in December establishing a $5 licensing fee for 1 year. Silver added that political committees are treated separately. When raffles are held by a political committee, they apply through the state of Illinois and no local license is required. While reviewing the ordinance, Scheer noted Section 3 of the ordinance requests the date of birth for the presiding officer. Silver said this is required in the statute and relates to if they have been convicted of a felony. If so, when did the felony occur and what was the age of the applicant when they committed the felony? Section 5 states any person who is not of good moral character is ineligible for any raffle or poker run license. Your question, who makes this determination and what the qualifications are? Overall, the final decision comes from the county board. Section 6 states the county board shall review all applications and accept or reject applications within 30 days. Scheer suggested the language be changed to the county board chairman reviews and accepts or rejects applications. This is due to timing issues from when the application is submitted, when the raffle or poker run is being held, and the date of the next board meeting. Section 7 states a licensee may rent a premise on which to determine the winning chance or changes in a raffle only from an organization which is also licensed under this ordinance. Scheer doesn't find this statement necessary in the ordinance and believes it should be removed. All of these items will be further reviewed with State's Attorney Jim Devine. It was moved by McTaggart and seconded by Awful to make the proposed changes to the ordinance, establishing a system for the licensing of organizations to operate raffles and poker runs in the county of Iroquois. Page 6, section 6, paragraph 1, change county board to county board chairman. Page 7, section 7, section 1D, remove paragraph. All changes are subject to State's Attorney Jim Devine's approval. Excuse me. A roll call vote was taken. That motion carried. It was moved by McTaggart and seconded by Alpha to approve the ordinance establishing a system for the licensing of organizations to operate raffles and poker runs in the county of Iroquois, Illinois, subject to State's Attorney Jim Devine's approval. The roll call vote was taken. That motion carried. It was moved by McTaggart and seconded by Bard to enter into executive session at 10 a.m. under 5 ILCS 120/2/C1. The appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body. The motion carried by a voice vote. It was moved by Bard and seconded by McTaggart to come out of executive session at 10:38 a.m. Motion carried by a voice vote. Following executive session, it was moved by McTaggart and seconded by Alpha to set a salary range between $40,000 and $50,000 per year for the Director of Zoning. The roll call vote was taken, that motion carried. Appointments include Dan Raymond to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Sure is also seeking someone to serve on the Iroquois Memorial Hospital Board for a 2-year term. The only qualification is that the individual cannot be a resident of Watseka. Correspondence was distributed to the committee. There was no old business, there was no new business. As there was no further business to come before the committee, it was moved by Alco and seconded by McTaggart to adjourn at 10:48 a.m. That motion carried by a voice vote. All of which is respectfully submitted, signed by all members present, and I move for the adoption of the report. Is there a second? Mrs. Awful. Are there any questions or comments on the report? Seeing none,
Sorry, I just want to make a clarification in the minutes, because it's something that I said and I don't want it to go down the way it's written. On page 2, it says Super also reminded the committee that the circuit clerk's salary can be changed in the middle of her term, but it doesn't have to be set for 4 years. That's not a correct statement. The circuit clerk's salary can be changed in the middle of her terms. Her term doesn't begin until, like, it began in 2020. So if you set her salary now, you're changing it in the middle of her term. So you can set her salary for 2 years right now, as far as to change it, if you're going to increase it in the middle of her term. And then when she begins, or when the circuit clerk begins their next term, you can set that for 4 years at that time. You don't have to set the circuit clerk's salary for 4 years at this time. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, because I just felt like that didn't read right. So that was all I wanted to say.
I think the committee understood it, but if you're right, it's not stated clearly.
Right, I just wanted to make sure that that was.
Are there any other questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Behrens,
Yes.
Bodger,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Kokenauer,
No.
Crowe,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Ducat, Hughes,
Yes.
McGinnis,
No.
McTaggart,
Yes.
Awful,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Alt,
Yes.
Bard.
Yes.
Okay, next is the motion to approve the ordinance for licensing the raffles and poker runs. We have you have a copy of that ordinance included in your packet, and you were given the last page of it prior to the meeting. It's a separate page. We would entertain a motion to approve that at this time. Mrs. Awful, is there a second? Mr. Bowers. I think in reading the report on the policy procedure meeting, we kind of went through the discussions that were held and with this ordinance and things that we thought needed to be changed. I did meet with Mr. Devine last Wednesday, had an extended meeting with him, which we talked about a number of things, most of this, and what you have in front of you is what he and I agree would be the best way for things to be stated. I think it pretty well agrees with what was done at the policy procedure meeting. The only difference being that when somebody files an application, instead of the county board chairman just having sole authority to approve it, there's a period now of 45 days from the date the application is submitted, in which it will be brought before the county board for approval. It'll be something almost exactly the same as what's done with the liquor licenses. And the intent is that the whole specific that most people applying for a raffle license will be those that also hold the liquor license and they will run currently. Is there anyone else that has any questions about this? Mr. McGinnis?
So the licenses are for 1 year?
They're for a period of 1 year, but the year runs from July 1st to
Okay.
June 30th.
Yeah, I just asked, I didn't see that in there.
And actually, if you come in, let's say you come in on January 31st to get a license, it's only gonna be good till June 30th.
Okay.
It's not gonna be good for a whole year in order to get to within the time frame.
And then,
And that's something it's hard to clearly spell that out in the ordinance, but that's
Yeah.
just technical.
after the definitions, on page 2, it just says, it's unlawful to operate a poker run without having a license. So, rat run are okay.
Same thing.
Well, we may wanna word it that way then. It's just, I think, because it says poker run and raffles are different than poker runs with that statute. I'm not picking on it, just
I think it says in another place in there that it's illegal.
and what's the penalty? If, you know, a club, sportsman's club, or whoever holds a raffle without a license, what's the penalty for that?
If they got liquor, then they lose their liquor.
They don't have liquor. There are a lot of clubs that,
That's the reason why this was brought up, is because the state can pull the liquor license of our liquor licensees.
yes,
And it's just like I described in the October, so the November or December meeting. We have a fireworks permit. You see fireworks go off all over this county every year. We only have 3 people get fireworks
Yeah.
permits. Does anyone enforce the fireworks permits?
I'm
No,
just,
but that's,
I'm just asking
Right,
if.
right.
if
Is
they
anyone
don't-
going to enforce the raffles permits? The state of Illinois is going to enforce for liquor license holders.
So they
When I
don't-
talked to the, Liquor Control Commission regarding this, I asked, well, what happens if a church has a raffle and doesn't get a license? Or what happens if, you know, like just any organization gets, doesn't get a license? And they said, well, we don't really care about those. Like, okay, so there's no enforcement at the state level on these. Well, the Department of Revenue might enforce that.
So,
So.
they're worried about liquor licenses, is what they're worried
The
about.
Liquor Control Commission is worried about liquor licensees following all state laws and ordinances. So that's why
Can we,
when they inspect those.
I get it that the state's putting the pressure on it. I'm voting no because this is another regulation of the state infringing on people. I respect the fact about the liquor license, that they're trying to make sure that in places that have bars are not gaming, you know, the rules. I get that piece.
Right.
But I'm just more concerned that as long as we don't have a penalty in there, I'm fine, okay, because I'm not gonna go after a local club. I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's overreach on the state. I understand the pickle we're in. So we have to have something on the books for that.
Mrs. Grove?
So, about the concurrency of these licenses, and I agree with everything Chad said, it's just absurd. But a lot of times a poker run will begin, say, at a bar, like meet there at whatever time and we'll go on or the Jeep run or whatever it is, and they stop at bars along the way. So just because they begin at a bar, then does that require that bar to have a permit? Even though they're not involved, they're not sanctioning, it just says on the poster, meet at this bar at this time.
Right.
And then what about the bars along the way?
That is the part that was changed, by the committee, because one of the things was, John, I believe you're the one that brought up having a raffle at the fairgrounds, and it would require that the fairgrounds have a raffle license. So they took that part out to, alleviate the owner of the establishment that the raffle was being held at, not to have to get the license. It would be the people that are running
The organization.
Yes,
Right.
because the precinct committeeman would get their permit from the state, correct, for any raffle that they
Right.
would hold. So, or any other political
Right,
political.
right. And bingo licenses are different also. Those are licensed through the state.
Get every penny.
There's
So there's,
several different types.
And none of us, well, I don't think any of us like this, so I don't know what's gonna happen when we all vote.
But if we don't have the ordinance, then.
Then we're putting our liquor licensees at risk if they end up having something and the state goes in and does one of their inspections.
So without an ordinance, they can all lose it if they have.
Correct.
Right, so like if we don't pass this, then the establishment that's holding a raffle can get in trouble, and then that could lead to someone calling on someone else for having a raffle, and you know how
So
that
it's really a
trickles down.
protection of the liquor license.
And does that include like the catch bash situation? Is this, or is that a whole different ballgame?
If they conduct raffles at it.
Well, a raffle is considered a game of chance, and that's what a cash bash would be considered, so.
So then bingo is a game of chance.
But bingo is a different license. Bingo is licensed 100% through the state, and there is no local license. For raffles and poker runs, the state passed a law that made counties and local jurisdictions responsible, because they didn't want to have to deal with it, just like, well, we didn't in 2014, and that's why it didn't get
Is it a requirement to have the person in charge bonded? It isn't this, but is it a state
It is,
requirement?
yeah.
Because right there, the price of the bond, who pays for that? That's gonna come out of that, and so you're gonna nickel and dime it to the point where it's not gonna be, some of them only make a few $100s on it, and you're gonna eat it up in fees and bonds and.
There's a provision in the ordinance where that can be waived. It's not a requirement. What we have in our ordinance mirrors the state ordinance. That was part of a discussion that I had with Mr. Devine. All these records that have to be kept is a burden on the county clerk. There's other things in here that seem a little bit ridiculous or foolish, but they're all part of the state law, and we agreed that we have to follow the state law and mirror it in our ordinance. And that's the reason it's 9 pages long. It's be kind of silly that you have to have a 9-page ordinance for a $5 license fee, but it is what it is. As was pointed out a minute ago, in order to be sure that somebody with a liquor license doesn't get in trouble, and even if you don't have a liquor license, if you don't have a raffle license or a poker run license, your reputation can be sullied if somehow that becomes known and so forth. So it's unfortunate, but I think it's something that we need to have in place, so.
so the only entity that's worried about this is the Illinois Liquor Commission?
Since this law was passed in 2014.
Yes.
And after it was passed, we used to get phone calls all the time. What's the county's liquor, or what's the county's does the county have a raffles and poker run ordinance? Because the statute clearly states at the very beginning, the county may pass an ordinance. So once you see that,
Yeah.
don't read any further. We may, we don't have to. Sounds good, because a lot of paperwork and a lot of nuisance, right?
Yeah.
So then if you read further in the statute, it says it is illegal to hold a raffle or poker run without a license. So that's where it tells us that we have to have a license. But yes, the Liquor Control Commission, when I talked to them, they could not tell me who enforced it for schools, who enforced it for, any organization, who enforced it for churches. They could not tell me that. They just said, well, I think maybe the Department of Revenue.
So, to simplify things, can we because
because of
that's
the way
all
it-
we're worried about, to protect them.
Yes,
I don't care
absolutely.
about the church that's just trying to raise some money to fix a heating system and they're doing a raffle for it. I mean,
Sure, yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I
And
one
it's less
hundred
record
percent
keeping.
would
I don't
agree
have
with
to
that.
worry about the liquor.
The only thing is,
You're discriminating.
right, the way, like I said, I don't know if Jim would say yes or no on that.
Then fine, the organization that doesn't have a liquor license can sue us for discriminating against them by not requiring a license. I mean, it's a liquor thing.
Right, and it would be,
And
it would be anyone having the drawing at the establishment or something like
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
mean,
I'm just not wanting to put a burden on.
agreed, 100%.
But if we don't pass one, then we put them at risk nonetheless.
Only the liquor people,
But
so we can specify just liquor. You have a liquor license, you must have a raffle license to do it.
Sure, sure.
Is it necessary to have $5 fee?
I don't think so. I think the board can put whatever fee they want on it.
well, if we're,
Fireworks permits are $2, and that's
The board's
set by
already
statute.
approved the $5 fee.
Right.
No.
Yes, they have.
In December, you guys did.
We did.
Mr. Ducat,
So the $5 fee, does it go to the county or the state?
It goes to the general fund.
Mr. Penny,
then maybe to fix it, we could, adjust the ordinance for the raffle that if you have a liquor license, then it's required that
What's
you,
your say?
get the, raffle license, but for non-liquor license, it is not required, you have to get a license, they are authorized, as nonprofits to, something like that, to, have one without requesting. So they're still in, in the ordinance, it's actually specified, because they're saying it's up to us how we write it, the way I'm hearing it.
Well,
So it's not like,
that I don't know. Jim
Yeah,
Devine would have
that's
to
what I'm saying,
answer
we need
that
to talk to Jim
question.
somewhere, I think,
Right.
before we
Mhm.
vote on whether this should go or not. Needs to be looked at with a homeowner, I think.
well, if you're not gonna enforce it, what difference does it make?
Well, it still comes down to just equity. And I think it's sure that everybody is accountable for it.
No one,
No,
the liquor people.
Well,
this
and-
goes back to, I think we should have an indefinite one. If you apply for it once for free, you get it the rest of the life of the business.
Not opposed to that, yeah, why not?
Just be done with it.
And I will say that the gentleman that I did talk to,
That's a
he
good-
did say that they don't sit and read like the local ordinance to make sure that they're like, that they applied exactly how they were supposed to and that sort of thing. They just make sure they have a license, so.
So as long as there's
The
no.
day we get
If
you a
the
liquor
county
license, you
wanted
have
to
one
do
that
that.
expires in 21.
Always something, I suppose, that could be, because it doesn't spell out that it has to be for
Yeah, but
a,
if you do that, you're opening up a whole host of problems.
this is also true.
You have changes in ownership in organizations, and as well as management, you have people that come in that may not be qualified, and may not meet the requirements, if they have any of the items listed in here that disqualify you.
Then they would just have to show when there's change, come in and present.
That's the folly of what we want to begin with, because
You can't,
people are gonna find a way to do it,
Whether they gotta reapply every year, or if there's a change, you're changing it more, so someone's gonna have to show something.
I think you're making it a whole lot more complicated than it is.
I think the state of Illinois made it a lot more complicated than it needs to be.
I agree, but I think if we have to have an ordinance to mirror the state ordinance, I think that's our best course of action.
20% of the fishing tournaments do.
We should have this much discussion in budget now.
Mr. McTaggart, would like to amend
I mean, we need an ordinance, just, we might have to get a little bit more for how that reads.
Yeah, I agree.
I move to amend section 3 application for a license for raffle. Item 1, that you add wording, any person, firm, business, corporation, entity seeking to conduct a raffle that holds a liquor license
Okay, so that's the
Specifying.
part for raffle, so do you wanna do it
And for
for
poker.
poker runs
Or we just
also?
wanna send it back.
Well, I mean, if you want to send it back, but if we're not, I'm focusing on liquor license. Because I'm not going to support it, they can take a hike. Someone has to stand up to them and tell them. I get protecting our liquor license people, but we're not going to, it's a message thing. Yes, are we gonna force it on a local sportsman's club or someone's, you know, that aunt passed away, they're trying to do a raffle real fast? Yes, there's provisions for it, but no, I'm sorry. JV, come down here, this Jelly Belly donut, explain to his wife.
And are you making a motion or just
Yes.
bring a sermon?
Oh.
Can you give me that one more time, I'm sorry.
Amended that it only applies to holders of liquor licenses. So any person, firm, business, corporation, organization.
You said your motion.
Well, no, she asked me to.
I
Is there a
didn't-
second to the motion?
I have it.
Is there a second to the motion?
Well,
She doesn't
we want to be
have-
clear what the motion was, so if you could repeat it to make sure we heard it correctly.
I don't have the motion, so it's not gonna be in the minutes if I don't get it.
You just asked to repeat the motion, you're clear on it, we can record it.
Any person, firm, business, or corporation, organization, or other entity that holds a liquor license. This way it's specifying, you're basically adding in that holds a liquor. And if we have to send it back to Jim before we leave, then that's,
Well, that's what I want, his input. I don't
I'm
want
fine
to
with
vote
it.
today. I want his input on that revision.
I'm hoping to send it back to the committee and supersede this amendment. Yeah, for reference.
Okay, please. We got it. Do we have a second to the motion? Mr. Penny? Do we have any further questions or discussions on the motion? Clerk call the roll, please.
Boucher,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Kokenauer,
Yes.
Crowe,
Yes.
Curtis, Ducat,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
McTaggart,
Yes.
Awful,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Sure,
No.
Young,
Yes.
Alt,
No.
Bard,
No.
Barron.
Yes.
Okay, now we've changed the ordinance. So we have a motion to approve the ordinance with the changes as noted.
I'll make a motion.
What, that was Divine looking at this?
Yeah, well, I thought we,
No, this is to approve it with changes, is what John called for.
not pending Divine's approval.
That's not what he said.
Asking for approval right now.
As presented today, this
Or
document.
amended.
I didn't get that second, was that Laverne?
But with that understanding, do you still wanna make the motion?
Who made it?
Kevin Kokenauer.
With that understanding that it's gonna be approved now and not going back to Tim Devine, you still wanna make the motion?
Yes.
I think there's some confusion here. I think we need to bring, we're voting on this ordinance as presented with the revisions from the committee.
You're approving
In
the
the minutes.
ordinance as just amended with Chad's amendment.
But without consideration or input from.
That wasn't part of the motion that John asked for.
Right, just to clarify that they're asking to approve it as amended without him having looked at it yet.
Right,
Okay.
the ordinance that you guys have is with Jim Devine's corrections and, the changes that were made by committee. So it doesn't have obviously Chad's motion that he just made, but it would be with Chad's amendment. That's what you would do.
So the motion as amended be approved by the attorney.
That's not what
the motion says, it's to approve the ordinance as amended.
He just said he wants to leave it the way you made it.
If you,
Might be something.
if you want Mr. Devine to look this over, then you make a motion to send it back to the committee for Mr. Devine's approval. That's the verdict. If you want to pass it now, pass it as is.
So we have a motion on the floor.
Yes. So you have to amend it, or the person making the motion can withdraw.
He amended the ordinance, he hasn't amended his motion. But you wanna approve it now?
So approve it with Chad's,
Yep, and you don't have to.
so we're being asked to approve it with Chad's, amendment, which we just.
If you vote yes now, this ordinance with Chad's amendment will go into effect without going to Jim Devine.
Okay,
If we
got it.
do not want that to happen, if you want to go to Jim Devine, then you have to vote no,
Got it. That's all I need to know.
or amend it prior. Donna.
That's fine, I didn't see your hand.
I move to amend Chad's motion to include a review by Jim Devine and send it back to the committee. Kevin's motion, we have a motion.
So we have a motion, amend the motion, it hasn't been voted. Correct?
Yes. And I'm not sure how that works.
So we would have to vote on Donna's motion to amend, so we have to vote on Donna's, then we vote on his, and then.
All those who vote for
I've got some. Yeah, I got it.
So we should be voting on Donna's motion.
Vote on Donna's to amend it, and then vote on the amended motion, if it's amended.
I don't think anybody understands what we're doing. There doesn't seem to be any further questions. Yeah, I'll roll.
Okay, Bowers,
Yes.
Kokenauer,
No.
Crow,
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Dukan,
Yes.
Hughes. McGinnis. McTaggart. Awful.
Yes.
Kenny.
Yes.
Sure.
No.
Young.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Bard.
Present.
Barron.
Yes.
Botcher. Vote to 3 with 1 absent.
Now we have a motion to make this only something that people with a liquor license have to approve, but in order to do that, it has to go to Mr. Devine. You hear him, is that correct?
Well, no, we already amended it to add the liquor licensee. Then there was a motion to approve the raffles and poker rent ordinance as amended. And then that motion was not voted on, So then it was a motion to amend Mr. Kokenauer's motion to approve with Jim Devine's approval.
Does everybody understand that?
I feel like it needs to be sent back to
Yeah.
I put that in my motion.
You said to send back to committee? Oh, sorry.
Committee and Jim, both of them.
We're going back to the committee, we're all done with it.
No,
No?
no, because we're still, hers was to amend his, we still have to vote on his.
I said that a minute ago, and you said no.
Well, it's what you said was in which motion.
You were saying it was Chad's motion wrong.
Except his motion was amended, so it's done.
Huh?
His motion was
We're not
amended,
voting on his,
so,
'cause it got
no,
amended.
Kevin's motion was amended, so it's done.
No, we voted on the amendment, not voted on the actual.
But Kevin's motion was amended, not Chad's amended.
Right, yeah.
So the amendment you
Kevin's
voted
is
on,
done.
so you don't have to vote on
There's
the
no vote
motion.
on it because his motion was amended.
No, we voted to amend it, we did not vote on the actual motion.
So then what's Kevin's motion?
His motion was to approve it.
Right, and Donna's was to amend Kevin's motion to send it back to committee and have Jim Devine review it.
Yes,
So
the
that's
motion,
Kevin's motion
the
out.
task to amend it, or have them voted on the actual.
Okay.
Because we made a motion, it was seconded.
Now we got a motion to
That
approve your
motion,
motion.
I agree.
So they-
Back to committee. Back to committee.
Taking us almost 45 minutes to discuss this. I hope you all will come to the next committee meeting so we can have another enlightening discussion. Meantime, we'll go to the management committee report.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the county board, your committee to Illinois Deferred Maintenance Services Complete Leave to submit the following report on marriage and ordinance. We came at the administrative center on February 8, 2022 at 10:55 a.m. And the special variance, 2 hours and roads. Kevin Moore and Sherry Johnson were absent. Also present County Board Chairman John Scher, Finance Manager Jill Johnson, Coroner Bill Keenum, and Animal Control Warden Linda Bovard, and Larry Mahoney with TNT Construction. The meeting was called to order, moved by Donna Crowe and seconded by John Zumwalt to approve the agenda. Motion carried by a voice vote. There were no public comments. Discussion was held on the Animal Control Building. Larry Mahoney with TNT Construction distributed a project scope listing all rooms needed and square footage. He also provided a drawing of what the workspace could be. Coroner Bill Cheatham provided some information regarding his request for a morgue. When Phyllis Jameson was coroner, the two-man cooler was purchased and stored at the county highway department. When the highway department needed space, an agreement was made with Iroquois Memorial Hospital to store the cooler in their basement. The cooler is still in the hospital's basement, but is unavailable to be removed due to their freight elevator being out of service. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, it has become an issue to use the cooler in the basement. Cheatham said he began using the cooler at Bear Funeral Home. Liability issues arose when the funeral home was purchased by a new owner. The new facility will need to be able to accommodate people coming in to view the bodies when necessary. The plans drawn up include a 30 by 36 space with a roll-up door in the middle, a 10 by 10 walk-in cooler, and a restroom. The two-body freezer included in the plans is not needed at this time, but may be needed in the future. Cheatham said his vehicle will be parked in the building on the weekends he is off. Cheatham plans to use funds from his automation fund to purchase the equipment he needs. Crowe reminded the committee that in the event Cheatham ceases to be coroner, the agreement with the funeral home would likely end. Cheatham said he and his deputies will be responsible for keeping the morgue area clean. The committee reviewed the project scope for the animal control facility. Johnson said there is a need for 2 washrooms, and the intake room does not need to be a separate room. Built-in kennels are preferred. A cat run isn't necessary, but a room for cats will be needed. The medical room needs to be large enough to accommodate a 6-foot table. Total estimated square feet is 2,166.75. Mr. Mahoney told the committee he will come up with a space plan similar to what he prepared for Cheetah. The committee can take time to review the information and then move forward with approved set of drawings and put the project out to bid again. The next meeting will be held March 3rd at 10 a.m. to review space plans. There was no old business, there was no new business, as there was no further business to come before the committee. It was moved by Cronin, seconded by Dumo to adjourn at 12:12 p.m. Motion carried, all of which is respectfully submitted. My move for its adoption. You want me to do the other ones, do them both? Okay. Mr. Chairman, members of the county board, your committee to whom was referred management services, respectfully, following report on matters before the your committee met at the administrative center on March 3rd, 2022 at 10:10 a.m. Members present were Barron, Bowers, Rose, Dumo, Dupaw, Bowman, Kevin Bowman, and Sherry Johnson were absent. Also present, county board chairman John Scherr, finance manager Jill Johnson, maintenance supervisor Chris Jake, and county board member Charlie Ellis. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by Donna Crone, seconded by Paul Bowers to approve the agenda. Motion carried by voice vote. There were no public comments. Maintenance supervisor Chris Drake's report included the following. Snow removal occurred in February. An issue with the air handler in the jail basement was resolved. The break room remodel is still in progress. There are metal wall cabinets and a countertop that need to be disposed of. John Dumont suggested they be used for animal control building. Drake will begin a spring cleanup of the grounds. Crow asked if Drake could utilize the jail for yard work. Drake explained the jail currently doesn't have any trustees, but he has utilized them in the past. There was no update on the donation of trees from the All Hands family. Management Services Chairman Barron stated Walker Farms has paid their rent for the county farm. The ditch was also cleaned out last year. The committee approved paying $700 for its ditch work, and the final invoice was $699.83. County farm tile work project was discussed. State's Attorney Jim Devine is preparing a memorandum of understanding, but he has asked Dumont for 3 points to include in the agreement. Dumont said he came up with the following items. Each landowner is responsible for repairing any broken tile or sinkholes as they develop on their own property. The cost of maintaining the tile outlet would be shared equally. Joe Crabtree will agree to match or exceed the size of tile as it enters his land. Dumont also said the agreement should be in place prior to putting the project out for bid. Dumont has been working with Chris Shires, and it is suggested to put a bid out for 2 sizes, 15-inch and 18-inch smooth core pipe. Also, the project will need to be done when the crop is standing. Crow asked Dumont to include a clause in the agreement that states the agreement runs with the land. Also, Crow would like the document recorded in the county clerk's office for further reference. Discussion was held on animal control building. Finance manager Jill Johnson reviewed the room data sheets prepared by Larry Mahoney with TNT Construction. Johnson said once the sheets have been reviewed and the committee has made their necessary changes, Mr. Mahoney will prepare a drawing for the committee to review. Suggested changes include making sure there is additional space for kennels. The building will also house the morgue for the coroner. Crow noted this building will forever solve our animal control issue and will solve the coroner's issue. The location of the building will be in front of the administrative center due to cost savings on utilities. Maintenance on the building should be able to be handled by the animal control wardens. The committee reviewed the claims. It was moved by Dumont, seconded by Bowers to pay the claims, subject to county board approval. Roll call vote was taken, motion carried. There was no old business. During new business, known from the committee that the old courthouse museum has submitted an American Rescue Plan Act application. The request is for $250,000 for windows, boiler system, and other repairs. The county owns this building and utilizes it for storage. Crow would like to see the committee members make their feelings known about their application and would like their application considered for them to make these improvements. As there was no further business to come before the committee, it was moved by Joe, second by Bauer, to adjourn at 11:31 a.m. Motion carried. All which is respectfully submitted, and I move for its adoption.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve two management committee reports. Is there a second? Mr. Bard. Mrs. Crowe, you have a question?
In the first report on page 1, we're discussing, I don't know what we're discussing. Cheatham said the Crow reminded the committee in the event Cheatham ceases to be coroner, the agreement with the funeral home will likely end. I don't wanna start any rumors, there is no agreement with any funeral home. Mr. Cheatham is just allowed to do that by the grace of the Knaps. So there is no formal agreement in place with any funeral home. So I don't know what word we wanna use there, but I don't want anybody to think there's a document somewhere to go look at.
Would you like that entire sentence stricken from the minutes?
Instead of agreement, do you wanna call it an understanding?
How about nothing?
Well, you can just take it out, that's fine with me. It was just in discussion, talking,
Strike that entire sentence.
but it is true.
It's a possibility. He's no longer coroner, you don't know who the
And even if it were to be one of their employees becomes our next coroner, they might say, we've done that in the past, we're done with that. You use your own, you make out whatever, but don't be bringing your bodies here anymore.
Okay, have any other questions or comments on the report? Mr. Alt?
On the saleable control building, it really reads like we're putting it together, a particular building. And if so, what is its volume going to be? What is it estimated to be, what it's gonna cost per year, or things like that to run the thing? Do we have money already set aside for it, or what's the situation?
When you say volume, you mean the number of dogs, or what?
We're gonna have a study made of how much space, and how much it's gonna cost us to run it each month, if it goes into operation. I don't see any cost figures in even putting it up, let alone do that.
Well, we're still in the planning stage, so we don't have an actual plan developed, so we don't know how much it's gonna cost until we get a plan developed. The type of building we build will affect what the utilities are. If we
We're
make,
getting involved, sounds like an awful lot of specifics here already.
we're trying to get specifics together. And so,
I think to answer your question, Mr. Alte, we haven't made some decisions, but we do already have allowances in the budget for the operation of this type of thing, going back to our former arrangement. And I think that's probably the basis that would be used to cover some of the expenses that you're referring to. So, the numbers may change.
Yeah, I would think they might change.
I don't guess.
Prison operation is totally.
Right, well, I don't think we know right now how much those changes will be. I mean, it sounds to me like the building they're putting up is like the Taj Mahal or something, way more than what was needed in the first place. But,
Yeah, that sounds that way.
once we get more concrete ideas of plan, I think we can do like we just did with the Raffles and Poker ordinance. We can sit here for an hour and tear it all apart.
Is there any thought about it, approaching some other county to go into an agreement, or farming our needs to them under a contract?
I would say that based on the current situation, as I understand it, that's probably something that likely wouldn't be well received by any other county.
right now, that's what we're having to do, is farm it out to other counties, and they're having a very difficult time doing it.
How about that veterinary service that sets it up besides his own?
That's one place where the problem lies.
There is no vet in the county that wants
there might be one drawn into the county that would start out as that as part of his income in running a service, battery service in the county.
If you can find one, Mr. Alt, you may be able to go out and with a hat, and you get tips
Yeah,
about.
we tried to find one.
Yes, sir, we have tried very hard.
How?
How?
Yeah.
I didn't keep a diary of everybody I talked to, sir, but I'd be happy to go over some of that with you if you'd like.
I think it should be going on with everybody, not just me.
There's been an application made by the animal control for ARPA funds for this project. And I'll be the first to admit it's about double of what we started talking about. However, it's an inflated number, I believe that.
It's an inflated number, and it also includes the coroner's request for the morgue.
Correct.
In the original amount discussed of $225,000, that did not include anything for the coroner.
Correct, and, we left this out for, well, I want to remind everyone that we were paying Dr. Yusuf $1,500 a month just for the use of his facility, that his services were above and beyond that. So if you wanna calculate that into repayment and recoupment, then you can do that. But, this is not a done deal, it was let for bid, nobody bid on it, because we didn't know what kind of building we wanted, we didn't know what we wanted to construct it out of, we didn't even know how many square feet. So Mr. Mahoney has come and begun to help us define the scope of the project, and has talked to us about, and some of the size requirements, I believe, are defined in the state animal control statute, aren't they?
Some of them, as far as the Humane Society kennel, requirements are, but however, we have, or I should say I have talked to Mr. Mahoney and reduced several of those. So, we understand that having a facility is, the main goal is not to have the Taj Mahal, but to have something that's functional and durable, because right now, I can speak for other counties because I'm dealing with those other counties, they have no room to, hold any of our animals, let alone their own animals. So, the problem lies right now is, we're in a situation where we have this officer who's caught in between, I know what I need to do, but I can't do anything because I have nowhere to take these animals. We have been paying for some vet services. For example, we had an animal that was involved in a car accident that needed some, vet assistance. And, so those costs are coming out of our pockets. The goal in mind for this facility, since we don't have a veterinarian that is interested at the moment, and I know we've reached out to the University of Illinois and other areas to try to entice somebody here, is that with a medical room inside of this facility, we can entice possibly, one of our local veterinarians to come, say, one day a week and service these animals as a, lost my train of thought on that one, but that was the goal behind the building. And unfortunately, I've had several conversations with the animal control director in Ford County. They're gonna be in the same situation as their animal control director uses his facility to house their animal control animals as well. So it's just gonna be one of those situations where I think a lot of the smaller counties are gonna find themselves in, that they don't necessarily have a whole lot of options.
And we are looking at ways to control costs. I mean, originally, we were gonna put the building back here. In discussions, we found out we saved $75,000 on moving utilities by moving it to the front of the building. So, I mean, we are watching expenses as much as we can, but legally, we have to do certain things.
Well, and in order to watch those expenses, I know Donna had mentioned the application that was turned in. That's really honestly a guess, just a guess estimate, because we don't have that scope completed and we don't have any idea of a building plan, and that's why we're working so graciously with, Mr. Mahoney, and, like Lyle said, we're definitely are keeping costs in mind, that's the first thing.
And Mr. Mahoney has graciously to this point, volunteered his time,
Correct.
so.
Refresh my memory from the whole debacle from 5 years ago or whatever that was. Wasn't there a group that wanted to take the dogs?
There was,
I think we've tried to utilize them and they don't have any space. They didn't,
Uh-uh.
there was a cat situation.
We have tried to, we were utilizing them until their kennel license came due, which was recently. We ceased using them since then. I do believe they've been approved for their kennel license with the dogs. I haven't used them yet, but we ceased using them until they got their kennel license renewed.
And there's only so many that you can bring there, right?
Yeah, they were holding, in the beginning, they were holding a couple spots for us to use, so.
We actually have a private kennel person that's taking some of the animals as well as, we have employees taking animals home.
We have a couple fosters, yes, that are holding animals right now, and we do have the part-time officer who, his family holds a kennel license. They're holding a couple spots for us to use right now as well.
at this point, is there a cost to that?
Yeah, it's $15 a day is what, basically, we're not making any money off the deal because it's $15 a day. And if somebody comes to redeem their animal, the cost to them is $15 a day. So that right now is what we're paying out, is $15 a day per dog.
And just for interest, last week when we met, you had 7, correct?
Yes, we still have 6 of those 7. We're waiting on placements for 5 of them.
We kind of need to move along with the meeting here, we're getting a little bit off track.
Yeah, I mean, basically, this is still in committee, we're not approving anything, so.
Yeah.
No, our application hasn't been put in yet.
So
you did put in the part of the application, or you have not?
We did. I put one in for a certain amount. However, it includes the morgue. As when we discussed in the committee meeting with Mr. Mahoney, that costs, we talked about the 400,000 range, but we don't have a set number. We don't even have a good estimate because we're still working on the worker scope.
So then, since you're not working with me and you're helping me out, we're gonna wait until you have a solid number
Yes.
before the application is submitted, so that way everything that we have.
That's what I
we
originally
use
wanted
can-
That's originally what I had wanted to do, but as an employee here, at the suggestion of somebody else, I went ahead and submitted a preliminary application.
No, I appreciate all your work.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move for a call for the orders of the day.
Is there a second to that motion?
It doesn't require a second, Mr. Chairman.
We come back and start over.
It brings it to.
Somehow this day seems to have gotten off to the wrong start.
Discussion brings it to.
We're gonna get back on the right start right now. There's no further questions or comments on the management report. The clerk will call the roll, please.
Kokenauer.
Yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Ducat.
Yes.
Hughes. McGinnis.
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes.
Awful.
Yes.
Penny.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Halt.
No.
Bard.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Boucher.
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, Health Committee, Mrs. Awful.
Okay, let's see what we can do with this one. Mr. Chairman and members of the county board, your committee to whom was referred health would beg leave to submit the following report on the matter before them. Your committee met at the Administrative Center on March 1st, 2022 at 9 a.m. Members present were Awful, Bard, Curtis, Kokenauer, and Lynch were absent. All Also present, County Board Chairman John Scher, Finance Manager Jill Johnson, ICPHD Administrator Dee Shipper. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by Ernie Curtis, seconded by Roger Bard to approve the agenda. Motion carried by a voice vote. The committee reviewed the claims. It was moved by Bard and seconded by Curtis to pay the claims, subject to county board approval. A roll call vote was taken. Motion carried. There were no public comments. Finance Manager Jill Johnson, there are 7 open cases for the month, 2 dog bites and 2 closed cases. We are currently holding 5 dogs and working on 5 placements for them. Our part-time warden, Jacob Williams, and his family have a kennel license and are holding 5 spots for the county until the new animal control facility is built. The registration deposit for February was $3,250. ICPHD Administrator Dee Shepard reported COVID-19 numbers are going down. The current isolation period for an individual with COVID-19 is 5 days as long as you are symptom-free. Shepard reviewed the summary report of programs with the committee. Environmental Health issued 4 permits and had 16 food inspections. There were 6 water samples received and 8 radon kits received. The health department will begin using an online platform called Digital Health Department to report their wells and septic. There were 439 COVID-19 cases with a total of 2,591 since December. There were 3 outbreaks in long-term care facilities. 1 bat tested negative for rabies. Community outreach events include Narcan, CPR, and presentations in the schools. The community care program currently serves 183 seniors. Shepherd reported the following COVID-19 vaccination statistics. Ages 5 to 11, 11.05%. Ages 12 to 17, 31%. Ages 18 to 64, 53.12%. Ages 65 plus, 80.85%. There was no old business, there was no new business, and there was no further business to come before the committee. It was moved by Bard and seconded by Curtis to adjourn at 9:27 a.m. Motion carried by a voice vote, all of which is respectfully submitted, and I move for its adoption.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the Health Committee report, seconded by Mr. Hughes.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Hughes has already
I know.
seconded, sir.
Sorry. It's a race. Just trying to do the least.
Are there any questions or comments regarding the report? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Crowe?
Yes.
Curtis?
Yes.
Lucat?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
McTaggart?
Yes.
Awful?
Oh, yes.
Kenny? Scher? Young?
Yes.
Alt?
Yes.
Bard?
Yes.
Barron?
Yes.
Botcher? Bowers?
Yes.
Kokenauer?
Yes. Tax planning and zoning, Mr. Bard.
Mr. Chairman and members of the county board, your committee convened your deferred tax zoning would beg leave to submit the following report on the matters before them. Your committee met at the Administrative Center on March 1st, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. Members present were Bard, McGinnis, Curtis, and Awful. Kokenauer was absent. Also present, County Board Chairman Scher, Finance Manager Johnson, Treasurer Albers, County Clerk Sugar, ICPHD Administrator Shepard, and NIDA Director Crawford. Meeting was called to order. It was moved by Awful and seconded by Curtis to approve the agenda. Motion carried by a voice vote. Committee reviewed the claims. It was moved by McGinnis and seconded by Awful to pay the claims subject to county board approval. A roll call vote was taken, motion carried. There were no public comments. The department heads gave their monthly reports. Treasurer Albers reported his office is in the process of the senior deferral program for real estate taxes. Mobile home tax bills were mailed February 28th and are due May 2nd. County Clerk Brian Sugar reported filing begins Monday, March 7th through Monday, March 14th. There will be an objection period for petitions through March 21st. Statement of economic interest will be mailed out March 3rd, along with instructions on how to fill out the form with the changes. All levy information is entered. Railroad and pollution assessment from the state was received this week. Super said she is looking at instituting new voting machines for the primary election in 2024. Discussion on a zoning ordinance for storage building was held. Tax zoning Chairman Bard stated the zoning board held a meeting last week to discuss the rezoning of rural residential to business. A request was made to put 20 mini storage warehouses on the property in Philart Lake. It was pointed out during the zoning board meeting that 2 acres are required to establish a business, but the property is only, that should be 30,000 square feet. The board voted against the rezoning unanimously. Bard said the meeting was deemed null and void due to legality after discussion with State's Attorney Devine. The county zoning ordinance has 48 types of businesses, but none are storage related. An ordinance should be created or revised to include storage facilities, as an individual may reapply at a later date. Other county ordinances were reviewed, but nothing on storage unit facilities was located. Super said she spoke to someone from the Livingston County Planning and Zoning Department, and they recently got an instance of this. They made a zoning amendment and listed it under commercial general business. Sure suggested a request be sent to United Counties Council of Illinois for samples of many storage ordinances in surrounding counties. McGinnis will reach out to UCCI and update the committee with their findings. Suver presented a monthly resolution list showing 2 parcels being sold by the county trustee. The parcels are located in the village of Beaverville and Watsika. Suver said she is awaiting a response from the attorney for Joseph Meyer and would prefer the board not take action on the village of Beaverville parcel until she receives a response. Suver explained the parcel was bid on and a down payment was put on the parcel when Ballinger was our tax agent. There is currently a lien on the property from the village of Beaverville in the amount of $37,500. The tax agent wasn't able to get the lien released. Suver said she's unsure of the circumstances with the contract as far as how much money was put down, if any of the money is reimbursable, and the gentleman still wants the property. The second property is located on Locust Street in Watsika, and the tax agent allowed the owners to purchase the certificate outright and get their properties back. It was moved by McGinnis and seconded by Offal to approve the resolution surrendering the tax sale certificate to Kenneth and Sonda Berry, parcel number 19-32-461-003, and forward the resolution for the village of Beaverville to the county board for further action. A roll call vote was taken, motion carried. Discussion on building permit enforcement fines and penalties was tabled until the next meeting. The committee reviewed the rural homestead outreach printout prepared by IDA Director Angel Crawford. The marketing plan is to let Iroquois County work for you. And reach out to those that have an existing rural homestead or a formal rural homestead available for sale. Advertising ideas includes postcards, newspaper advertisements, and posting information on social media platforms. Also, large employees should be approached with information to attract new residents. Flyers could be distributed at banks, auctioneers, and real estate offices. The committee will continue to discuss the matter. IDA Director Angel Crawford informed at the committee that she and McGinnis had a brief meeting last month. McGinnis said they will be reviewing the zoning ordinance. Discussion on publication of rural homesteads was tabled until the next meeting. There was no old business, there was no new business. As there was no further business to come before the committee, it was moved by Awful and seconded by McGinnis to adjourn at 10:30 a.m. Motion carried by Rose Hoyt, all of which is respectfully submitted, and I move for its adoption.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the report of the tax planning and zoning committee. Do we have a second? Mr. Dukas. Are there any questions or comments regarding the report? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Sorry, I changed the minutes. Sorry, don't want to keep anyone any longer. Where I spoke at the beginning and reported the statements of economic interest would be mailed out, that needs to be changed, so we're gonna change it. It's gonna be changed where it says March 3rd, and it needs to say along with definitions to help fill out the form with the recent changes. There are instructions on how to fill out the form, the definitions. So I am making that change.
Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Curtis?
Yes.
Dukas?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
McTaggart?
Yes.
Awful? Penny? Sure?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Alt?
Yes.
Bard?
Yes.
Barron?
Yes.
Botcher?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Hokenhour?
Yes.
Crow?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is discussion and action on the resolution authorizing the sale of the parcel in the village of Beaverville. Do you
Okay.
have anything on that?
I do. Basically, we're going to keep it pulled because the tax agent has not heard, a definite answer from the village of Beaverville or the gentleman that originally bid on the property. Basically, he still wants the property. Village of Beaverville won't release the lien. So, I'm going to take it to Jim Devine, and it may be a matter of those two, like the parcel will stay in the county's ownership until those two can come up with a resolution as to what's going to happen. Unless Jim says, go ahead and sell it to the village of Beaverville, or, so, not sure 100%, but we're gonna pull it and hold it and keep it until Jim gives us.
So there's no further action on our part today.
Right. Mhm.
Okay, so we'll move on to the Judicial and Public Safety Committee report, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Chairman, members of the county board, your committee to whom is referred to additional public safety with Begley to submit the following report on matters before them. Committee by the courthouse on March 2nd, 2022 at 3 p.m. Members present were Barron, Foster, and Alducon and Chad McGinnis were absent. Also present, County Board Chairman John Schur, Sheriff Vince Perdee, Probation Supervisor Barb King, Judge Mike Sable, State's Attorney Jim Devine, Circuit Clerk Lisa Hines, and County Board Member Roger Barr. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by David Penny and seconded by Laverne Barb to approve the agenda. Motion carried by a voice vote. There was no public comments. Sheriff Perdee presented his monthly report to the committee as follows. Deputy Alt is progressing through field training and is currently on night shift supervised by Deputy Fowler. 2 deputies on administrative leave due to Officer Randolph shooting have returned to work as of 1/14/2022. No charges will be filed and all property, including firearms, have been returned. Gilman contract car has resumed the 40-hour week of coverage per contract on 1/28/2022. Only provided 16 less days from December 1 through 2021 through February 28, 2022 for a contract, but continue to provide service to Gilman with coverage of 10 hours on Friday night for dedicated deputies since December 3rd, 2021. System Park has approved through their village board that they would like to proceed with a 40-hour per week contract for patrol provided by the Iroquois County Sheriff's Department. This would require hiring and training a deputy to fill that position. Could possibly start in mid-October due to training schedule. There's a 14-week academy and an 8-week field training program. Started mental health visits at the county jail on Wednesdays starting at 8 a.m. for any inmate who signs up for the service. Telecourt/telehealth project is in the works once approved by the ARPA committee. The MAR program is still continuing, and our nurse should have her certification to prescribe the medication soon. Body x-ray scanner project still in the works and in the bid process. New audio-video interview room operational and being tweaked. 43 arrest intakes in January, 34 arrest intakes in February. January 31 jail population 17, 13 male, 4 female. On weekends, jail adds 3 weekenders, 2 male, 1 female, 1 on ankle bracelet. February 28th, jail population 14, 13 males, 1 female. On weekends, the jail adds 3 weekenders, 2 male, 1 female, 1 on ankle bracelet. January medical, 6 doctors, hospital emergency room visits. This month, 1 mental health visit to the jail, 0 lab visits by Iroquois Memorial Hospital, 5 nurse visits every other Monday, 4 public health visits every Thursday. February medical, 6 doctor hospital emergency room visits this month, 0 mental health visits to the jail, 0 labs visits by Iroquois Memorial, 4 nurse visits every other Monday, 0 health visits every Thursday, 1 telephone assessment with Gibson City Hospital for MAR. Jail overtime for January, 99.5 hours, part-time hours for January, 18. Jail overtime for February, 146.5, part-time hours for February, 8. Brazilian informed the committee he will be proposing to the Finance Committee a 10th correctional officer position, as the Sheriff's Office had in 2010 for Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. to assist in the reduction of overtime and assist with compliance with Illinois jail standards. Court medical prisoner transports, administrative duties, and court security. Brazil will also be proposing to hire 2 deputies, 1 deputy for System Park and a 2nd deputy to fill the position of deputy that is being medically released on 4/30/2022. If the positions are approved, they will attend the upcoming academy class on 5/4/2022. The next academy class is in August. Brazil said he has 4 candidates and all have been interviewed by the Merit Commission Board. Lastly, he will be looking at putting the jail food service out for bid. Some issues have been reported with Aramark. Probation Supervisor Barb King reviewed the probation court services activity report for January and February with the committee. Judge Mike Sable reported bailiff Eldon Sproul resigned and the vacancy has been filled by Reed Anderson. The judges are in the middle of their jury calendar. State's Attorney Jim Devine reported there's still a vacancy in his office for an assistant state's attorney. He does have an upcoming interview scheduled. The pending murder trial is on the May calendar. Devine said he does not foresee any extraordinary expenses pertaining to the trial. Grand jury was held today for 17 cases. Judicial Chairman Barrett questioned the possible need for additional staff with upcoming law changes. Devine said when body cams affect additional staff such as paralegal or part-time staff may be necessary to review the footage. Circuit Court Police Alliance distributed her monthly report for February to the committee for their review. A total of $35,275.13 was received in fines and fees. $2,442.50 was received from credit collection partners, and $7.19 was received from IGRA. And also reported she is looking to fill a position in her office. The committee reviewed the monthly ETSB report. There was no old business, there was no new business. The committee reviewed the claims. It was moved by Penn and seconded by Walker to pay the judicial public safety claims subject to county board approval. A roll call vote was taken, motion carried. As there was no further business before the committee, it was moved by Walker and seconded by Penny to adjourn the meeting at 3:21 p.m. Motion carried by a voice vote, all which is respectfully submitted, and I move for its adoption.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the judicial report. Do we have a second? Mr. Bowers, are there any questions or comments regarding the report? Mr. Duquette.
Yeah, the mental health visits, is that gonna be, both, addiction companies?
Right now, it is just Iroquois Mental Health. It's set up through them.
Has Addiction Recovery been contacted yet?
Yes, I've been in contact with them. They still don't have a brick and mortar location here in Watsika.
Correct, they have a telehealth, so I'm confused why we're approving, you want ARPA money for the other, company before they'll start, their project with you.
Is that a question for the ARPA committee?
No, I already know about it on my side, because they got some things they have to do for us. I'm wanting to know, why do we have to wait for us to be approved to give them money for their phone system? We both know, we've been on the committee, that they're using phones out of the county, so we should be paying for that, but why can't they start this without the ARPA money?
I guess the sheriff knows the answer to that.
The addiction recovery, why can't they start the?
No, well, Addiction Recovery's got the telehealth system. You had said the other company, as it says in here, is in the works once it's approved by the ARPA committee. Why do we gotta give them money from the ARPA committee for them to start telehealth for you?
Why do you have to give the addiction recovery?
No, the other company, mental health.
They're making, home visits, or not home visits, but visits in the jail. Mental health is.
All right, I'm just trying to clarify.
Yeah, addiction recovery isn't set up yet to, come down and make the visits with us yet. But mental health, we've got that set up similar to the nurses list, to where if anybody chooses to speak with somebody from mental health, they will come in and sit with them starting at 8 a.m. on Wednesdays. So it's set up similar to the nurses list.
Can we contact Addiction Recovery to see if they can also start doing this for us?
Yes.
All right, that's what I'm trying to do.
I was hoping to get them, going with their brick and mortar here in Watsika, so they've got more of a presence, so I have been in contact with them on that.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Yep.
Is there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Ducat,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
McTaggart,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Alt,
Yes.
Bard,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Bosher, Bowers,
Yes.
Okenauer, Crowe,
Yes.
Curtis,
Okay, Finance Committee, Mr. McTaggart.
Mr. Chairman and members of the county board, your committee to whom was referred Finance IT would beg leave to submit the following report on the matters before them. Your committee met at the Administrative Center on March 3rd at 9 a.m. Members present were McTaggart, Young, Alt, Bowers, Curtis, and Hughes. Johnson was absent. Also present, County Board Chairman John Schurer, Finance Manager Joe Johnson, Sheriff Clint Brzee, County Clerk Brian Suver, County Engineer Joe Moore, Myron Munyon with Compass Insurance, Susie Werner with Homestar Insurance, Michael Tabor with Area Wide Technologies, and County Board Member Donna Crowe. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by Bowers and seconded by Hughes to approve the agenda. Motion carried by a voice vote. There were no public comments. Myron Munyon with Compass Insurance reported an estimated evaluation is being performed on all buildings. Susie Werner with Homestar Insurance reported that the deductible report from Health Alliance was sent to Blue Cross Blue Shield for December. Claims were reprocessed and reimbursements were sent out if needed. Members can purchase up to 8 over-the-counter COVID-19 tests every 30 days, and they'll be reimbursed by Blue Cross Blue Shield. Werner will be sending information to the finance office to be distributed to all employees about the Well On Target portal. Lastly, the $25,000 transition from Blue Cross Blue Shield was applied to the February invoice. The department heads gave their monthly reports. They are as follows. County Clerk Brian Suver reported they were slightly ahead of schedule on the tax cycle and tax bills might be sent out earlier. Finance Manager Joe Johnson reported the audit is still in progress. Sheriff Clint Brzee reported that the 2 deputies on administrative leave due to the officer-involved shooting have returned back to work as of January 14th. No charges to be filed, and all property, including firearms, have been returned by the Illinois State Police. The Gilman contract car has resumed the 40-hour week of coverage per the contract. There were only 16 less days provided from December 1st to February 28th, but the Sheriff's Department continues to provide service with coverage of 10 hours on Friday night with a dedicated deputy since December 3rd. No payments were received by the Department of Corrections for the days we housed inmates for them from 2020 and 2021 when they were unable to take sentenced inmates. ICRMT is finished up on the jail and patrol policy updates. ICRMT has proposed the sheriff department utilize Power DMS, a document management service, for implementing policies in the jail and patrol investigations. Power DMS documents the policy implementation process, updates and keeps policies in compliance with the changing state and federal laws. It provides weekly training and documentation on policies which reduce liability and is added to the employee's training file. ICMRT has offered to pay the initial setup costs at least the first year of use. The annual cost is $6,000 for the 1 to 28 employees, $7,500 for 30 or more employees. System Park has approved their village board that they would like to proceed with a 40-hour per week contract for patrol by the sheriff's department. This would require hiring and training a deputy to fill the position. The contract could possibly start in mid-October due to training if the deputy starts in the May 4th Academy class. Sergeant Bill Walber will be medically released from employment on April 30th, 2022, which allows for one deputy to be hired for that position. Interviews of 4 candidates have been conducted by the Merit Commission and command staff. Brzee said it would be ideal to offer employment soon after board approval with the start date of April 18th, 2022 to allow time for uniform purchase and receipt, and also allow a 2-week ride-along period prior to the academy. Deputy names are needed to secure the slots in the May 4th Academy. January jail overtime was 99.5 hours, and the jail had 18 part-time hours. February jail time was 146.5 hours, and jail had 8 part-time hours. Brzee is requesting to hire a 10th correctional officer for the 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. shift, Monday through Friday, to help alleviate the overtime on day shift. Brzee provided a proposal for the hiring of a 10th correctional officer, which includes the cost of a new hire at $19.08 per hour. In 2021, the average amount of overtime hourly for the day shift was $39.68 per hour. Only having one correctional officer in the building at any time of the day is prohibited by jail inspectors and is mandated by jail standards. This puts the county at a high liability risk. Hiring an additional correctional officer would allow for assistance with inmate court appearances, cover sick days and days off, assist court security, assist with telehealth, mental health, nurse calls, and training and administrative duties. Michael Tabor with Area-Wide Technologies gave his report as follows. The phone project is almost complete. Johnson is waiting on confirmation to cancel the AT&T lines. Area-Wide Technologies assisted in obtaining .gov domain for the county's website and email use. Area-Wide is working with Johnson on getting approval for items that are budgeted. This includes storage for the servers, UPS power replacements for old equipment, backup server, and disaster recovery server. All items have been ordered. In regard to Brzee's report, the committee discussed his requests. Finance IT Chairman McTaggart requested more information be gathered about the Power DMS service. Johnson will reach out for more information and also find out if there will be a reduction in our premiums. On January 17th, 2022, the Village of System Park approved a contract with Iroquois County Sheriff Department. The contract will provide System Park 40 hours per week of police protection at $74,200 per year for a 1-year contract. Brzee stated the amount may need to be adjusted due to the increase in fuel. Brzee addressed the need for structuring the public safety tax fund. He plans to hire 1 deputy using public safety tax funds and the 2nd deputy from his budget. Charlie Alt said that he agrees with the System Park contract being put into place, but he believes 2 deputies were hired years ago for this situation, but contracts were never established. Schur suggested the committee be provided with an organization chart of the Sheriff's Department. Brzee explained there are 2 deputies on each day shift and 4 deputies on each night shift. It was moved by McTaggart and seconded by Alt to approve the hiring of 2 new sheriff's deputies. 1 deputy is replacing an existing medically released deputy, and the 2nd is for the proposed System Park law enforcement contract. Roll call vote was taken. Motion carried. McTaggart also noted that if the contract ends with System Park, the deputy position could be eliminated. The hiring of a 10th correctional officer will be revisited next month. The funding process for joint dispatch was tabled. Committee reviewed the claims. It was moved by Young and seconded by Hughes to pay the claims subject to county board approval. Roll call vote was taken. Motion carried. During new business, county board member Donna Crow asked that the committee follow through with the plan for public safety tax funds. The matter will be included on next month's agenda. There was no new business, and As there was no further business to become before the meeting, it was moved by Alton, seconded by Bowers to adjourn at 10 a.m. Motion carried by a voice vote, all of which is respectfully submitted, and I move for its adoption.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the finance committee report. Is there a second? Mr. Young, are there any questions or comments regarding the report? Mr. Brzee?
In reference to the one comment about the one deputy being hired through the public safety tax funds. In reference to the one comment about the one deputy being hired with the public safety tax funds, I don't remember that being discussed. I don't think that those funds would need to be tapped for that. We should have that within budget, for this year.
I agree. I don't recall it was discussed that way either.
If we could strike that.
Where is it at?
Bottom of the second page.
Okay.
Mrs. Crowe, did you have a comment?
Do we foresee receiving anything from the DOC for payment, in the way of payments for housing?
Yes, but you know, the state's fairly slow on their payments. They have allocated 25 million, for the sheriff's departments, to cover some of that. But they're only going to give us half of what we requested initially. We had to sign a contract before December 30th that would lock us into at least receiving that half. If we didn't sign a contract, we were out for everything.
How much was our half? Is that a per day amount?
It's a per day amount. I think it was $66 per day, and it added up to around $90,000. So we'd receive about 45.
Okay.
So.
And I have a second question, please. We are agreeing to the 74-2 with Cissna Park today.
No,
We are not.
we just are hiring, we're agreeing to hire the deputy for that contract, but we wanted to go back and revise the contract. It's actually, we're hoping that it's, or our intention is for that to be a larger dollar amount. And
Because of the fuel.
the reality is, I don't even know that we had an official contract to look at. We were just still basing it on the Gilman one. So the Gilman one was the 74-2. We have to develop a new contract that we're gonna revise the fuel and maybe
That's
something else. We need to get the dates straight and a few other minor things, but the Gilman contract will be the basis for it. We just had to hire, we're just approving that we hire the person for that contract with the notion that Cissna Park has already agreed that they had passed in their village board that they wanna go forward with this. But we need to get the guy hired, correct or gal, hired so that they can get trained and get in the right class and all that stuff.
Correct.
But the contract is not, we need to get the contract hopefully hammered out next month.
And once we do that, then it'll go back to Cissna Park to approve any changes that we make.
But as it sits, they approved the Gilman contract, but we.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Hughes.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes.
Penny.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Bard.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Bodger.
Yes.
Thank you. Bowers.
Yes.
Tokenauer. Crowe.
Yes.
Curtis. Ducat.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, ARPA committee, Mr. Ducat.
Mr. Chairman and members of the county board, the committee to whom was referred, American Rescue Plan Act with bags of leaf to submit the following report on the matter before them. Your committee met at the Administrative Center on March 4th, 2022 at 10 a.m. Members present are Ducat, Alt, Crowe, Awful, and Sure. Also present, Sheriff Brzee, County Engineer Moore, IDA Director Crawford, Ms. Gagnon, Ms. Williams, Ms. Bowers with the Iroquois County Historical Society, Ms. Wilkin with Amy's Daycare, Penny Cheever and Ms. Zebart with Crossroads Youth Center. I apologize, Sarah, I don't know your last name, I'm gonna say it wrong. And Randall Schleff with Milford Township Park District. Ms. Rabby with Iroquois Mental Health Center, Sonny DeLong, Michael Tilstra with Iroquois Memorial Hospital, and Rick Harnish with Netlakes. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by Donna Crowe, second by John Scher to approve the agenda. Motion carried with a voice vote. There were no public comments. Mr. Harnish, Director of Development with Netlakes, began his presentations to the committee. Netlakes Center was founded in 2012 in Hudson Oaks, Texas. They have since grown to over 850 employees in size and serve over 80,000 subscribers across Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, and South Dakota. Netlink operates a fully IP-based carrier class fiber and wireless network from core to edge for high reliability and speed to end user. They have partnered with the FCC Advanced Connectivity Program, ACP, which offers $30 off monthly internet as well as a personal computing device for $50 to eligible customers. Netlink has secured CAF 2 funding, $281 million over 10 years, and is a provisional RDOF grant recipient at $430 million. Growing subscribers, base yields, materials increase, and operating cash flow. Also, in the last 18 months, they have raised $100 million in equity from strategic investors and closed on a $250 million credit agreement to fund continued expansion. Netlink is requesting $2 million from the ARPA fund to build a phase 1 fiber network in Iroquois County. Sure stated that by entering into an agreement and giving the request funds to Netlink, other local providers could be put out of business. Mr. Harney said they are in competition with other providers and any of the other vendors can apply for funding. The committee suggests an application be completed and submitted. The committee began their review of the ARPA application as follows. Application number 45, Iroquois County Highway Department. County Engineer Joel Moore said he is requesting $265,000 on behalf of the County Highway Department and all 26 road commissioners in the county. The funds will be used to implement a regulatory and warning sign upgrade program for the county and township highway systems. Application 31 and 32, Iroquois Mental Health Center. Kim Rabdu with Iroquois Mental Health explained the facility serves a large population and provides mental health services to adults and children. Iroquois Mental Health Center is requesting $70,403.96 for the upgrade to the phone system. Revenue said a recent windstorm caused their phones to fail and they have moved forward with purchasing the phone system. The funds requested will be a reimbursement for the system that was purchased. The second application is for an upgrade to a computer system, the amount of $163,000. Upon reviewing the application, the committee requested further information on a promissory note that is attached and further information from their IT person regarding items listed on their quote provided. Application number 33, the Iroquois County Historical Society. They're requesting $215,500 for repairs to the old courthouse museum. Ms. Gagnon with the Iroquois County Historical Society explained the funds will be used for repairs to roof, boiler, windows, electrical system, and plumbing. The Historical Society depends on fundraisers, grants, and donations to cover their expenses. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the number of visitors to the museum has gone down, and they haven't been able to hold any of their usual fundraisers. The Old Courthouse Museum is the premier tourist attraction in the county, has been on the National Historic Register since 1975. A profit loss statement was provided, but it does not show a loss due to the salary of the 3 employees not being included. These employees include a full-time office employee at $11.50 per hour, a part-time genealogy employee at $9 per hour, and a part-time cleaning employee at $15 an hour. The committee requested copies of quotes for each of the projects and documentation for all the grants received. Application number 8, the Iroquois County Sheriff's Department. An application was submitted in the amount of $219,991.51 for a complete CAD JMS records and report wiring system. Sheriff Brzee provided the committee with a memorandum of understanding to include the future separation of equipment costs. If the application is approved, the project will be put out for bids. It was moved by Ms. Awful and seconded by Ms. Crowe to approve the memorandum of understanding between Iroquois County and the Iroquois County Emergency Telephone System Board and forwarded on to the county board. A roll call vote was taken. Duquette, aye. All abstained. Crowe, aye. Awful, aye. Sure abstained. Motion carried. It was moved by Awful and seconded by Crowe to adopt a resolution approving the Iroquois County Sheriff's Department application in the amount of $219,991.51 for a complete computer-aided dispatch, jail management systems, records, and record writing systems. A roll call vote was taken. Motion carried. Application number 59, Milford Township Park District. They're requesting $13,606.98 to replace the loss of revenue for the 2020 and 2021 season. No grant funding for COVID relief has been received. Randall Shelf was the, again? Schleif, thank you. Randall Schleif with the Milford Township Park District, explain the funds requested and are not earmarked for a certain project. The committee requests backup documentation for their expenses, a signed signature page, and the section they're applying under. Application number 50, Crossroads Youth Center. Crossroads Youth Center is requesting $49,900 to assist in building a new facility to house a youth center. Harlan said the village board signed over three employee lots.
Empty.
Employee, sorry.
Empty lots.
Yep, yeah, thank you. On Jones Street in Milford, the youth center was organized 15 years ago and provided an after-school program for the youth in the Milford community. In mid-March 2020, the center closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The center was able to reopen with limited hours later that summer. The smell of mold became more prominent over time and decided to close the facility again. A temporary center location began at Imagine on North Axtell and Milford. Mr. Zebart also said that the new center can be used for community-related events and warming cooling centers. The committee requests copies of quotes for the building costs provided and more information on the grants they have received. Application number 56, Amy Wilkin. Ms. Wilkin is requesting $3,064.07 for assistance in utilities, tax, and mortgage payment. A $10,000 PPE loan was received and has been fully expanded. Ms. Wilkin informed the committee she operates a home daycare and has to close her business and has had to close her business 3 times due to COVID-19. The committee requests receipts for all the expenses pertaining to the PPE loan received, tax returns for the past 2 years, and a 1099 for 2021. Application number 57. Ms. DeLong. Ms. DeLong is requesting $7,130.37 for utilities, tax, and mortgage assistance. The committee requests a copy of Ms. DeLong's foreclosure notice, copy of homeowner's insurance, copy of electric bill, quote for repairs to a furnace, and her last 2 years' tax return. The committee revisited the application submitted by County Engineer Joel Moore. It was moved by Crowe and seconded by Awful to adopt a resolution approving the Iroquois County Highway Department's application amount of $265,000 to implement a regulatory and warning sign upgrade program for the county and the county highway system. Crowe rescinded her motion due to not having any bids for the project. Executive Assistant Amanda Longfellow informed the committee the Village of Danforth has pulled their application for water main repair in the amount of $30,000. They are continuing with their application for the water meter replacement in the amount of $40,000. The next ARPA meeting will be held March 14th at 9 a.m. The committee will review the past applications of this meeting. Sir suggested the committee look further into the broadband services and invite other companies to get further information. There was no old business, there was no new business, and there was no further business to come before the committee. It was moved by Sher and seconded by Off to adjourn at 1:03 p.m. Motion carried by a voice vote, which is all recipiently submitted, and I move for its submission.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the report of the ARPA committee. Is there a second? Mr. Hughes, are there any questions or comments regarding the report?
Oh, here's one thing. Oh, on page 2, in the, third application, where we talked about $219,000, I think we should put the name of the company in there somewhere. I can't, it's something square, Center Square?
Central Square.
Central Square, because the sheriff is gonna put that out for bids, so, right?
That's correct, yeah.
So we need to identify that current quote we have is.
Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
McGinnis,
Yes.
McTaggart, Kenny,
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Alt, Bard,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Botcher,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Crowe,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Ducat,
Yes.
and Hughes.
Approved.
Motion carried.
resolution.
Right.
Number two.
We'll go on to the, we'll do right now.
Hmm?
Shall I do it right now?
Yeah.
One more minute.
Number two on the agenda there under the ARPA committee is,
It's number one, we need to do the discussion and action on resolution approved at the February
excuse me, number one, under the ARPA committee. We need to approve the resolutions listed there. 1, 2, 3 resolutions. We have a motion to approve those 3 resolutions. Everybody see what I'm talking about?
They were resolutions that were presented at the February 7th ARPA committee meeting, but because of the timing of the committee meeting, they couldn't be on the full board agenda, so that's why they had to be directed to the full board this month. You all should have had copies of them in your packets, but one is in the amount of $76,728.50 for the county clerk and recorder for microfilm conversion. One is for Lori Lenz in the amount of $7,000 for house repairs and senior renters. And number 3 is for Rapid Assembly's request for $28,000 for revenue loss.
You making the motion to approve those, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. McGinnis. Are there any further questions or comments regarding those? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
McTaggart. Kenny.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Bard.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Botcher.
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Crow.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Ducat.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
And McGinnis.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, we'll go on to the highway committee, Mr. Ault.
Had 2 meetings to report on. Mr. Chairman, members of the county board, the committee to whom was referred transportation and highway, fighting with Dave Leave to submit the following report on matters before them. Your committee met the Iroquois County Highway Building on February 22nd, 2022 at 9 a.m. Members present were all Zumwalt, Sure, and County Engineer Phil Moore. Meeting was called to order. There was no public comment. It was moved by John Zumwalt and seconded by John Sure to approve the agenda. Motion carried by voice vote. County Engineer Joel Moore read the bids as follows. Sheldon 21-25135-00-RS. Stockman 22-26121-03-DR. Countywide reseal, countywide stockpile chips, countywide stockpile CM6/10, countywide spreader box, countywide pipe culverts, county FOB oil. Codes for township furnishings and application of calcium chloride were read. No action was needed. It was moved by Zumwalt and seconded by Sure to table action until a regular transportation and highway committee meeting on March 4th, 2022, subject to bid tab review. The motion carried unanimously. It was no further business to be come before the committee. It was moved by John Zumwalt and seconded by John Sure to adjourn the meeting at 9:43 a.m. Motion carried by voice vote. All votes respectfully submitted. And we have
To the other report. To the other report, we'll
Yeah.
one motion to approve.
all of you should have a copy of the bids final for that meeting, which will be now taken care of in the regular meeting. Your committee to which was referred transportation, I would take leave the following report on matters before them. Your committee met Iroquois County Highway Building on March 4th, 2022 at 9 a.m. Ever present were all Young, Ducat, and Crow. So Summerall was absent. Also present County Engineer Moore, Lewis Sanders with Florida Township, Mark Howard with Common Creek, Andy Labonte with Belmont, and Scott Storm with Concord Township. Meeting was called to order. There was no public comment. It was moved by Young and seconded by Crowe to approve the agenda. Moved carried by a voice vote. The claims and financial reports of not were reviewed. It was moved by Young and seconded by Ducat to pay the bill subject to county board approval. A roll call vote was taken. Motion carried. County Highway, $81,828. County Bridge, 0. County Matching, $26,507. TBP, 0. County MFT, $23,186. Township MFT, $8,780. County Engineer Joel Moore provided a bid list from the county 2022 levy. Moore was stated that all bids were within the acceptable range. The quotes for calcium chloride were rejected to the not having paperwork filled out correctly. Also, no bids were submitted for stockpile chips for Chapans Township. Moore said they reached out to several of the bidders and asked for quotes. Green Trucking was the low bidder. It was moved by Ducat, seconded by Crowe, accepted the bids from the February 2022 levy. A roll call vote was taken, motion carried. There was no new business, there was no old business. As there were no further business to come before the committee is moved by Crowe and seconded by Ducat to adjourn at 9:16 a.m. Motion carried by voice vote, all which is submitted. I respectfully ask for approval of this report.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to approve the two highway committee reports, seconded by Mr. Young. Are there any questions or comments regarding the reports? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Penny,
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Alt,
Yes.
Bard,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Botcher,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Crowe,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Ducat,
Yes.
Hughes, McGinnis,
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes.
Okay, on your agenda in front of you, you have a listing of the appointments to be made today. Do we have a motion to approve those? Mr. Bowers, seconded by Mr. Bard. Are there any questions or comments regarding the appointments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Claims. Everybody was sent a copy of the claims. In addition to what you were sent, I was given a claim this morning from the coroner for autopsies and x-rays in the amount of $1,175. We're looking for a motion to approve the claims, listings that you've been sent, plus this claim here from the coroner.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? Mr. Ducat? Are there any questions or comments regarding the claims? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Sure,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Alt, Bard,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Botcher,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Crowe,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Ducat,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
McTaggart, and Penny.
Yes.
Okay, is there any old business to come before the board this morning? Is there any new business to come before the board? Is there a motion to adjourn? Mr. Ducat, seconded by Mr. Hughes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting is adjourned.